Oh my
How are
gosh.
you?
I'm good. I was just, thank you so much. I was like planning around how I normally plan things. And then I realized I don't have my team with me to help me. I actually have to ask my
Mm.
husband to help me with my son. So I just didn't think about asking him if he was available. So thanks
I
for being
get
so
it.
flexible.
Yeah, all good. All good. And thank you. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yeah, me too. So, okay, so I mentioned to you, I've had on Marta from Surya Spa recently, actually, several episodes ago, and she taught us a lot about Ayurveda, and I'm sure, we'll want to get into it a little bit more, but I'm so curious when it pertains to these times that we're going through right now, because you and I spoke, and I've, spoken to other people, and I know that Ayurveda is this holistic 360 approach to well-being. And it's not just about looking at one thing that you're going through. It's really about every aspect of your life and creating a holistic plan and prescription for someone. But I'm interested in just kind of talking first a little bit about what if, someone their issue is dealing with a lot of stress because maybe they lost their job, or they're just so unsure about the unknown. Like maybe it's not necessarily something that's showing up for them on their body, or it's really just mental. So when it comes to our overall mental health and well-being, obviously I'm sure pranayama and all the asanas, but yeah, I guess that, go ahead. I'd love to hear.
Yeah. So because the mind and the body are so intimately connected, we can work on the mind through the body. So in Ayurveda, all of the same things apply that you may have heard from other, Ayurvedic professionals. But for someone who is, whether they lost their job or they have their work, but they're feeling really fearful and anxious and ungrounded right now, everybody in every situation really needs routine. I think that's one of the most important things, is that we still continue to have some sort of rhythmic schedule that we're putting our body on, but that is helping our mind. It has a ripple effect. And both the body and the mind really need that anchor. So sleep is also super key, and that plays into the routine. But in this time and all times, we really need to have a restful sleep schedule, going to bed early and waking up early. And that is so important, because that is how our circadian clock is designed. Like, we're supposed to sleep at night and be awake during the day.
What is early and waking up early?
So 10 to 6.
Okay.
If we had to pick a perfect time or an ideal time, it would be 10 to 6. If we go to bed by 10, we're taking advantage of this sort of like heavy, slow, sluggish aspect of nature that it's called kapha. It's heightened up until 10 p.m. And then at 10 p.m., the energy in nature switches to this more fiery, active pitta energy. So if we're in bed by 10, we take advantage of that kaphaliciousness, and we feel more tired and sleepy, and it's easier to fall asleep. Whereas if we stay awake too far into the pitta window to 11 or 12, we get a second wind. And the most important rejuvenating time for our sleep is actually from around 10 to 2.
Oh, okay.
So you could go to bed at 2 and wake up at 10 and get 8 hours of sleep, but not feel refreshed. And we so need that refreshing sleep time, because it's when our body and our mind are repairing. It's when our mind is able to disconnect from our sensory world and go inward and rejuvenate. And that enables us to be more resistant to stress during the day. And also, by waking up early, it has such a beautiful effect on the mind to wake up by 6. And again, those doshas are at play it's easier to actually get up and get out of bed, but we have more energy and we have a more refreshed mind if we're waking up early, waking up by 6. And of course, we need that if we're, trying to compensate for stress and keep our mind balanced. Mm-hmm. So by maintaining that sleep schedule, and I really think that that's sort of like the crux of it, our sleep. And it also plays into our, immunity and resistance against disease. But when we maintain a healthy sleep rhythm, then everything else kind of falls into place. Like our eating times fall into place in a healthy way. And our hormones are supported by being on that schedule that our body was designed to live on.
You also mentioned not napping last time we spoke. And I thought that was really interesting because obviously, I put my son for a nap every day. I put him down for a nap, and kids obviously are different, but in different cultures, they nap as well. Like in Spain, it's siesta. In the Persian culture, they nap. But it's interesting to me because I love that. But then they nap after like a heavy meal. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like curious what Ayurveda has to say about that.
Yeah, so in Spain, they usually stay up really late at night too. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of compensating for being tired from eating late at night and then staying awake late at night.
That makes sense.
Yeah, in Persian culture, maybe it's the same thing. Yeah. Is it similar? Yeah, so that's probably why. But the napping is like daytime sleeping. So it's beyond a power nap where you actually go into a deep sleep during the day. And it creates blockages and sluggishness in the body and creates sluggishness in our digestive system. And when our system is sluggish, we are not fully processing whatever we're consuming. And it accumulates in the body as something called ama, which is like our own body's toxins. And this too even will play into our ability to deal with the outer world. Because when we have that ama in our body, when we have undigested substances clogging our channels, we have mental indigestion too. Our body isn't able to process thoughts and emotions. So we don't have that clarity that we need to be able to fully, let emotions or thoughts move in, be processed, move out. They get stuck and they clog the mind.
What sorts of mental exercises do you recommend, or any sort of exercise to help people manage their emotions?
Pranayama for sure. Pranayama is the best mind medicine. So that could be as simple as sitting and doing deep belly breathing and taking full inhalations, feeling the belly really expand, and then long, slow exhalations all through the nose. So that's the easiest one. And then there are other, this alternate nostril breathing, Anuloma Viloma. And in any of those exercises, you're working with prana. You're working with this vital life force, which has to do with our thoughts and our mind. And we are refining our prana. And we are, you could say, kind of refining our mind. So with almost every client I work with, I give them some pranayama to do in the morning. And ideally, that's a beautiful time to do it when you get up in the morning and do something like that. And pranayama is so accessible. You do pranayama or you do your meditation or whatever, something to kind of strengthen your own aura and your own mind and body before you let the outer world in. Mm-hmm. So that's another mental exercise, is to resist turning the phone on and checking email and checking messages until you've kind of set your own mind and taken care of yourself. That's so important, especially right now when it's like noise and bad news and negativity all day long.
It's so important right now. And it's interesting because good for your mind, obviously. And it's good for your lungs too, right? I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's, it's an exercise to unplug, but then also it's an exercise for your lungs to really, I mean, I know belly breathing, but there are just so many ways to really support the respiratory system. So are you sharing any specific pranayamas for what's going on now? Or like what's good for pneumonia?
So in an acute situation, we wouldn't do any pranayama, but as preventative, Anuloma Viloma is so perfect for right now because it's stress relieving, and also you're breathing deeply. So you're, as you're working on your respiratory system and you're strengthening your lungs. And then you're also naturally detoxing your body because your exhalations are longer than your inhalations. So more is coming out than is going in. So that one is really amazing.
What's it called again?
Anuloma Viloma.
Okay. And is it long, or can you share it with us?
Yeah. So it's also called Nadi Shodhana, which some people know that name. So you would have your left hand in this Gyan Mudra in your lap, and then your right hand you put in this Vishnu Mudra. So your thumb is extended, your ring and pinky fingers are extended, and then you have your middle and ring fingers, pointer and middle fingers tucked in. Okay. Yeah. And then you use your thumb to close your right nostril, and you use your ring finger to close your left nostril. And basically you're breathing out and then in through one nostril, and then out and in through the other. So all the breaths are super slow, super light, super easy. Should I do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So you always want to sit nice and tall so that you're making full use of your lungs and you're not kind of collapsing into yourself. And then you would start with a few normal natural breaths before you begin the practice. And then you bring your hand near your face and you inhale. And then you close your right nostril and exhale through your left. So that's always our first breath. And then slowly inhale through the left. Close the left. Exhale through the right. Slow inhalation through the right. Close the right. And then exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close the left. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Send that breath all the way down into your belly. Close the right. Exhale slowly through the left. Inhale through the left. Nice, slow, long breath in. Close the left. Exhale through the right. And then last one, inhale through the right. Slow breath in. Close the right. Exhale through the left. And then before you open your eyes, release your right hand. Take a few natural breaths. Allow the breath to come however it wants. And then you can open your eyes.
So wonderful.
How was it?
It's great. I love pranayama. I used to fall asleep in my training every time it was time for pranayama. My teacher would be so upset with me, but I just, I really needed it at the time.
You got into it, yeah.
Yeah. But it's such a great way to reset your mind and just take a moment to relax and not worry about everything. Because our minds just go forever. And I just wish for everyone, I want everyone to have a practice like that, or to know that they can come to themselves, because it's free, it's easy, it's there for us,
Totally. And it's potent.
Yeah, it really is. How long is that? A minute?
probably only a minute.
Yeah, like that's great.
That's what I was doing right before we started our call. I was like so in this nice, peaceful state. Mm-hmm. And there are other pranayama too that are more invigorating and really wake the mind up. So, you know, there can be so many different stress responses right now. And one of them might be going into a more depressed, low state. And there are other pranayama like Kapalabhati, Shining Skull, which are really invigorating and help to kind of lift the mind up. So yeah, I think it's wonderful for people to know that pranayama is there, and it's this free tool that we all have access to.
I know. So I want to go back to you mentioning not to do it if you have an acute situation.
So if you had like an acute breathing situation, pranayama is not the thing to do. Or if you have congestion and you can't use both of your nostrils, you're going to be straining your body if you're, you know, trying to force the breath out. Also, if you're pregnant, you never hold the breath. Mm-hmm. Or during menstruation, even, I don't recommend doing like anything really heavy or strenuous in pranayama, or at all.
But when, like, let's say I have friends that have asthma, and then when they get sick, it turns like bronchial, but then they start having like panic attacks because they're nervous, or even about breathing or not being able to breathe, and that becomes mental. So it's like, how do you calm yourself down? I mean, I guess you just do asana.
Yeah, you do slow, deep belly breathing. Mm-hmm. Like trying to slow the breath down rather than doing anything fancy.
Yeah.
Just taking really slow, easy, relaxed, grounding breaths as much as possible.
But what are you mentioning to clients who are interested in hearing what you have to say right now about
immunity?
Yeah.
Or yeah. I mean, there are a few key things. So the sleep I mentioned, and also the food piece is important. And what people have access to is a little bit different from our, you know, normal situation where we can go to the store and buy a lot of fresh food, but still we have access to fresh food. So the most important thing right now is eating warm, cooked food that's easy to digest, and staying away from processed junk food for two reasons. One is that those foods are easier to digest, so we're not taxing our digestive system. The other is that if we're eating a lot of processed foods, we're, you know, kind of accumulating toxins in our system, which is totally not supportive. And our ability to resist disease, our own immunity factor, comes from, in part, our digestive process. So taking care of digestion is so important. And most of my clients know like CCF which is a really simple Ayurvedic tea, where you take maybe a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of fennel, a teaspoon of coriander, and you boil it with 3 cups of water, and then you strain it. And that's a really nice, mild digestive tea. So either sipping on that all day long or sipping on just plain, regular, warm water, which stokes the digestive fire. And yeah, so the sleep component, the food component, eating around the same time every day, keeping that rhythm for the body, for the digestive system, and doing things which are good for the mind. And this loops back to the stress factor. And what's happening right now is it's really stressful. So as much as we can, trying not to overburden our body or overburden our mind, so that we're not creating unnecessary stress. So whatever we can let go of right now, letting go of it, letting go of excess work, letting go of excess stimulation, letting go of excess exercise that's taxing our system. And doing those practices, I feel like a broken record, but doing pranayama or doing like yoga nidra, where you lie on the floor and you listen to a recording where you're relaxing all the different parts of your body, and also having courage and fearlessness, and trusting that your body is strong and you are the creator of your own immunity, and taking some of that power back into your hands. Because right now it's all so fear-based, like block the world out, stay away from other people, put your gloves on, put your mask on. And we're sort of relinquishing our own power to protect our body and protect our mind, which we are these main creators of our immunity through the things that we put into our body, through the way that we take care of our body on a daily basis, through getting good sleep, through taking care of our mind. So I think, knowing that concept is really empowering for people. And when you know a few key things to do, the most important sort of aspects of your lifestyle are good sleep, good food, taking care of your mind, and you do those things, there's less need for fear of the outer world, because you can rest in knowing I'm doing what's good for me and I'm doing the best I can, and that's all I can do, and that's enough. And then letting go of the rest, because the fear actually destroys our immunity. So that's what we really need to try to rise above right now.
Yeah, I agree. My grandmother-in-law called my husband and was asking if I could find her a really good face cream, because she's dry, because she hasn't touched her own face in 3 weeks. She only touches it with a Kleenex. And I was like, oh my gosh, you've been home for 3 weeks. You haven't even left the house.
Poor thing.
But even inside the house, she's been afraid of touching her own face. And it made me so sad, because that's what's happening and we were talking about this before, but instead of just tuning in and getting educated on what's going on, maybe once a day, maybe twice a day, all day long, people are in their homes and they're afraid to be basically outside and connecting with anyone. And they just have the TV on and they're just terrified because we're addicted. I was telling you, my mom is totally addicted to the numbers and the death toll going up. She's trying to check every few minutes. And I'm like, relax, please. We don't need to check in. It's okay.
Right.
But it's so weird to see that addiction.
Yeah, it's so weird. And it's so unnatural. It's so being created by the media and by social media, and this availability to get all this information continuously. And it wasn't that long ago where it wasn't that way.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be access to all this information. And it's so ironic too that here we are right now being able to connect.
I know. During
technology.
Yeah.
And share what to do because of too much technology. But yeah, I think there's so much to be said for having willpower right now and awareness of what we're letting in and how much we're letting in. And thinking about, there's this concept in Ayurveda of one of the three main causes of disease is misuse of the senses, which we can either overuse or we can underuse or we can misuse. And right now we're leaning more towards overuse and misuse, both of our ears and of our eyes, through continuous listening to the news, continuous, hearing the TV, and then continuous looking online at the news on our phone or the laptop or whatever. So we're misusing these senses, and it affects not only those physical senses, people who are, everybody knows if you look at your phone too long or you watch too much TV, your eyes hurt, right? So not only your physical senses, but also the subtle endpoint of the senses, which is the mind, and the mind bringing in these incorrect sensory impressions that are harmful. And it's not to say like, don't listen to what's going on and ignore all of it. But yeah, we have to be choosy and mindful and aware that that could happen.
I know. And that's why sleep is really good, because then you give it a break.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Unless your mind keeps going while you're sleeping.
And you just
right?
don't know. I know. What about going back to exercise? And we talked a little bit about this the other day too, but breaking a sweat every day, but redefining what that means, what breaking a sweat means. So what do you recommend when it comes to Ayurveda and ways to move the body?
In the current situation, or?
Yeah. Well, I guess both.
Yeah. So the ideal point that we exercise to is when we break a sweat. So when we have sweat, like on the forehead, on the brow, accumulating, we know that we have reached a point in our body where we are opening the subtle channels of our body and burning those toxins in our body without overexerting ourselves. So when I was talking before about overstressing the body, that's one of the ways that we actually overstress our body is by doing excess exercise. Mm-hmm. And doing not enough exercise is going to lead to accumulation as well. So our point of knowing, like, did I do enough? When you break a sweat, when you start to have to kind of breathe a little heavier through your mouth, you know you've gotten to that rate point. And right now is amazing. I mean, I kind of am really enjoying that aspect of this situation of all these awesome yoga teachers who are putting their classes online and
I know
free workout videos. It's so great. And you don't have to drive all over LA to get to class.
Yeah.
So nice. So those are such a great resource right now. You can put a yoga mat down or do it on the carpet or whatever and access amazing classes that you never would have had access to before. And then walking for people who are able to get outside of their house. Walking is so good because then we also get fresh air. Mm-hmm. And we're creatures of nature and we need the air, we need the sun, we need to be like in our element. So walking outside and taking in that prana, taking in that energy from the air and taking in maybe the early morning sun or the evening sun, but not like a slow, leisurely walk. We have to kind of walk briskly so that we get to the point where we're breaking a sweat. Mm-hmm. Otherwise it's not really exercise. It's more like, I don't know what the word is, but a stroll.
Yeah.
It's not getting the job done.
Yeah.
that we want it to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think those two things are really easy, really accessible. Yoga is amazing. Yoga is such a balanced exercise as, I know you love yoga too. And it actually gives us energy. We're not overexerting ourselves. Personally, I love Pilates and I'm really missing
Pilates so much on a reformer.
Me too.
It's so great.
It's so great.
I know. I wish I had one at my house, and I also wish I knew how to use it if I did have it.
My friend is trying to get me to buy one so that we can share.
Yeah, I don't think Pilates. I mean, I found it before I was pregnant, and during my pregnancy, it was the perfect. That was when I went from being super extreme with my exercise to feeling like I needed a little bit more than just only maybe doing a yoga class or something. Because at the time, I feel like yoga can definitely be a great exercise, but at the time I wanted just to do restorative yoga. So it was just like a great way of feeling like I'm taking it, slow, but then still getting the benefits of like a strength training type of workout.
Right. And it's so strengthening. It's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I really just love your approach to being in this world. It's not just Ayurveda. You can just really tell it's just your nature as well. And I love speaking with you. I love hearing what you have to say about everything. And for people who are tuning in, definitely check out the articles. Julie just recently contributed to the Fullest, and you just have so much to share and such a wonderful perspective. And I really appreciate that. It's so nice to get to know you the other day.
Too, Nikki.
And to learn from you. And thank you for.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing this. And I'm so happy to connect with you too.
And how can other people connect with you if they want a session? I know you are taking sessions right now, right?
I am, yeah. I've always been working online, but now I'm fully online. So trueayurveda.com is my website, and all the session information is there. And then I have a couple online courses coming up too, where people can learn in more of a ongoing situation and learn some of the pranayama practices, some of the yogic practices, some spirituality practices. So there, and then also on Instagram at Julie Bernier.
Actually, before we go, one more thing I forgot about, and I wanted to ask you because Ayurveda is the first type of holistic healing practice where I learned about tongue scraping and just like the importance of like dental hygiene. Obviously, everyone knows the importance of dental hygiene, but the type of like the routine was new to me. And I know that, you know, like in our Persian culture, and a lot of people know, but like things like when you're feeling like you might be getting sick, or to maybe avoid getting sick, you do things like gargle with hot water and salt and like all sorts of things. But I'm curious with Ayurveda if there's anything in particular that you recommend currently, because I've read a lot of people talk about the importance of dental hygiene during this time as well. How disease can kind of, I mean, it comes in through your mouth or your nose or your ears, right? So I'm just curious what your recommendations are.
Yeah. Well, the tongue scraping is a great practice to do every day. And that is an Ayurvedic practice. So a tongue scraper is like a V-shaped metal tool, and then you just stick it on the back of your tongue and you scrape off all of that fuzzy coating that's on the tongue in the morning. And that's the byproduct of digestion. That's also showing kind of toxins in the colon. Sorry, not the colon, the GI tract. So that after brushing your teeth. And then one of the other important Ayurvedic dental care practices is oil pulling. So doing that after. And for that, you swish maybe a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of sesame oil in your mouth. And that one is more strengthening. So you have the teeth brushing and you have the tongue scraping, which are more detoxifying and cleansing. And then in Ayurveda, you always follow cleansing with rejuvenating. Okay. So you would swish that oil in your mouth for maybe a minute until it feels like gross, and then you spit it out in the trash can, and that's it. The only thing is that if you feel like you are congested, then you wouldn't do it. But you mentioned something really amazing, which is gargling with warm water with sea salt, or you could put a little turmeric if you feel like your throat is, you're getting that sick feeling, to gargle with that. And sipping on hot water too. So whether you're not getting sick or you are getting sick, sipping on hot water will prevent it from occurring.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Nikki.
I didn't know that about the not doing the oil pulling if you're starting to feel congested. So that's really good to know.
Yeah, it's a good idea to not do it.
Have you used the Living Libations products?
I haven't. I've been wanting to try them for ages, but no.
Oh my gosh, she has amazing oil pulling like formulations, and they have all sorts of things. Like she has a mint and myrrh one, So it has different essential oils in there and coconut oil, all sorts of things. But I realized sesame oil is good for that.
Yeah, sesame oil is so good because it's nourishing for the bones, and your teeth are part of your bone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you might appreciate this. Have you tried it with sesame?
No.
It tastes like
tahini.
Yes, there's another Persian dessert. I'm drawing a blank. Or like a
halva.
Yes.
Yeah, I love halva. We just did a halva recipe that we shared.
Oh, nice. So you might like it. It tastes kind of like halva.
I need to do that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. And we're super excited to go. I'm really excited to go do my my sesame oil pulling. Can't wait.
Oh, good. Enjoy.
Bye.
All right. Bye. See you.